Lmde for Debian has been released. Hey everyone, what's happening? Linux Mint Debian Edition version 4 was released. So we're going to go ahead and review the official release now. I did do a video on the beta version. I'll go ahead and link that up in the right hand corner. But I didn't actually do a full review because it hadn't been finalized yet. It has now, so we're going to go and take a look at it. We're going to go through the install process and take a look at what software is included, at least the major software, such as LibreOffice, etc. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this. So here we are on the desktop. We're going to be doing this in a VM. So I've already got it all set up, so we're just going to go ahead and start the VM. I have the ISO attached to it. So this VM has 4 gigabytes of RAM and 2 CPU core. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and hit Control Host F and switch to full screen so that we can see it. And we're going to go ahead and disable that. And of course we have a grub boot menu here, so we're going to go ahead and hit Lmde 4. Now there is an NVIDIA option. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you need to hit that, so it installs the NVIDIA driver for you. So we're going to go ahead and wait for it to boot. So here we are on the Linux Mint Debian Edition desktop. Of course, let's go ahead. Let's see if I can expand this. And probably not, actually. You know, we'll just leave it as is for now. But of course, you go here and hit Install Linux Mint. It's going to bring up the installer. And here we go. And of course, it says welcome to the Lmde installer. We're going to go, of course, hit next. Next for English. If I actually hit next. And then, of course, time zone. Chicago's just fine for me. US keyboard. Now it's going to ask for my name. So I'm going to just put it in Penguin. And then we're just going to go Lmde VM for that. Of course, pick a username, pick a strong and complicated password. Okay, this is definitely not PR. And we're going to go ahead and hit next. Of course, you got require my password, so we're going to go ahead and hit next. Must be all lowercase. Okay. Okay, let's try that. Alright, now it says automated installation. We're going to go ahead and hit the VM hard disk. I've got 17 gigabytes available for it, and we're not going to use LVM or anything, and we're just going to let it automatically partition the disk. I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and it says, are you sure? Yes. And it says no partition. You click yes here too, and then you want to install the grub boot number. The grub boot menu or grub on SDA, that's fine. That's typically default anyway. Now it's got a summary of what it's going to do. It's going to tell us that we chose the central time zone and all this other stuff. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit install. And now you just wait. Okay, now that it's installed, it's asking us if we want to restart our computer, so I'm going to go ahead and restart it now. So that was the Lmde install process. As you can see, it was quick, easy, simple. A beginner could do it. This is the type of install process that you would expect from the Linux Mint family. And they deliver a real easy, simple way to install their operating system. So now we're going to go ahead and jump over and take a look at the operating system itself. So here we are on the boot menu. We're going to go ahead and hit enter to boot it. Now I have not done anything to this VM except install guest edition, so it recognizes my native resolution. So we're going to go ahead and enter in my strong and complicated password, which is definitely not PR. Definitely not PR. Now here we are. Let's check your video drivers. We're going to ignore that. It's only doing that because I'm running this in a VM. So the Cinnamon likes to do that inside of VMs. So we're just going to ignore that. When you install this on actual hardware, it will not do that. So we're just going to ignore that. And you've got the standard welcome to Linux Mint here. And of course, you have your first steps right here, like you would in a standard Linux Mint install. Go ahead and do those when you first install them. I am not, because this is a VM, and that's just going to take time, and I don't want this to be too long and drawn out. Of course, you have your documentation and your help here. And of course, you contribute to Linux Mint right here. So we're going to go ahead and close this. I'm actually going to go ahead and disable that. And now, first we're going to go check up on memory usage. So we're going to go ahead and hit a terminal. We're going to go and maximize, and we're going to go ahead and zoom in. And now we're going to go ahead and first we're going to check memory. And we're using 661 megabytes of RAM. Which is plenty, which is actually pretty good. I have plenty of RAM, 4 gigabytes. That's nothing compared to that. Let's check CPU usage. So let's see if HTOP is installed. It is not. I can fix that. Now just take a second. And now we can run HTOP. And now it's using about 5 to 6% of the CPU, which is actually not bad since I were on idle, which is not too bad on idle when we're running software rendering on the desktop. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at some software. Now, first of all, we're going to go through accessories. We have a standard archive, which is Roller. Standard GNOME Archive Manager. Of course, you have your file manager, which is Nemo. That is version 4.4. And then, of course, you have GNOME Disk, Gnote, your standard GNOME screenshot utility. You have a passwords and keys manager. The text editor, I believe, is XED or Z, whatever you want to call it. Yep, and that's also 2.4. That is Linux Mint's text editor for Cinnamon. For graphics, you have standard drawing, Pix, and Simple Scan. I'm not going to check those out. I think everyone knows what those are. No GIMP by default, though, which I find kind of strange, but I don't think GIMP comes with standard Linux Mint either. Firefox, I'm not going to check the version because that's always the long-term ESR supported version. Actually, let's go ahead, let's pull that out. Actually, because this is the extended support version, at least it should be, because we're based on Debian stable. Yep, extended support release. So this is actually 68, not 70 something. So what an extended support release is they provide security updates for a specific version that's frozen. And there's no feature updates for it, which I find kind of annoying, but that's the way Debian does it, and Linux Mint didn't change it. So, but of course you have Thunderbird for email, hex chat for IRC, and then you have transmission. So for your BitTorrents, I prefer Deluge, but transmission is default with Cinnamon. Now let's go ahead and, of course, we have LibreOffice. Let's go check it. And this is 6.1, which is actually newer than I think Debian Stable has. But it's still a little bit old, but not too old. It still has the built-in Office integration stuff in it, so that's actually a pretty good thing. Celluloid is Linux Mint Cinnamon's video player, and that is 0.18. It's a front end for MPV, so that's actually a good thing. I prefer just downloading straight MPV and VLC, but then of course you have Rhythmbox for your media player for music. And of course you have your administration and your preferences. Now, what version of Cinnamon are we running? We should be running a pretty new version of Cinnamon. We're gonna go. I know Neofetch should be installed. Does it tell me what version? 4.4.8, yes, that is an extremely new version of Cinnamon. Cinnamon usually rolls forward. So that's actually a pretty new version of Cinnamon. I've actually played around with it a little bit, and actually, as you can see, it's actually pretty responsive. I can go ahead and click something, it comes up real quick. Let's go ahead, let's pick up something that I haven't loaded up, drawing. Even on software rendering, this is actually working pretty well. Of course, you have your standard Linux Mint updater right here. And for package management, you have your Linux store and Synaptic, I believe. You have your software manager right here, which is your Linux Mint store. And of course, you have your Synaptic package manager as well. So, whoa, okay, that was kind of unexpected, but then you have your Synaptic right here. So that's how you manage packages. Of course, you can also do APT as well. Both of these are great graphical package managers. Now, one thing I did forget to check at the beginning was the kernel. So let's go ahead, let's check the kernel. Usually I would check that at the beginning, but we're going to go ahead and check it now. And that was 4.19, which is not surprising because that's what Linux Mint, not Linux Mint, but Debian Buster runs. When they finally release the new LTS kernel, this should roll forward. But this I would actually swap out. I would actually update this kernel, especially if you were doing gaming, because 4.19 does not include a lot of the gaming fixes and performance updates that 5.0 and above have in it. So I would actually update this kernel. I would probably do the Liquix kernel. And I did a video on that, but that's probably what I would do, is just update that kernel, because I would want FreeSync and all the other performance updates. But up on Biddle, they said that this actually worked great for gaming. I might have to try that out. So that was LMDE for Debi, and it's actually a pretty stable operating system. I played around with it a little bit afterwards, and it didn't break. I updated it. I installed some things. I played around with it in the VM, and it was just fine. It didn't slow down at all. So I would highly recommend this if you like a Debian base and you just want Linux Mint with a Debian base. The only couple things I know of is that kernel, but that's easily fixed. Also, on Biddle, someone was saying when you have an NVIDIA driver, that it has an old version of the NVIDIA driver. So you would have to update that NVIDIA driver to the current version, which right now is 440. But other than that, it should work just fine for you. But that kernel is just because it's based off of Debian 10, which is the current stable branch. But other than that, I'd use it if I was still using standard Debian. But right now I'm happy with my current OSs, so I'm not necessarily going to start changing anything out. But this is one I would definitely use and recommend you use. If you like this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up. If you didn't, that's what that thumbs down button is for. And go ahead and click that subscribe and leave a comment in the section below. Have a nice day. I'll see you next time. If you like my content and wish to support my work, you can do so on Patreon. The link is in the description. Also, if you wish to see more, check out the videos on your screen.